Welcome everybody to another edition of our new customer webinars here at Keep. My name is Grady. I am a coach here at Keep, and I've been here for about 5 years trying to help customers just like you guys to get to value and adopt Keep as the main way that they communicate with their clients and their leads. Before we get too deep into this, I want to make sure I do a quick tech check. And I want to make sure that you can see my face, see my screen being shared here that says quotes and invoices and Keep, and also hear me on my microphone over here to my left. So if you can hear and see everything that I've been talking about, go ahead and use the raise hand function in Zoom. Perfect. I see them already coming in. Awesome. So that just lets me know that you guys are able to see and hear. So thank you very much for that. That also lets me know during our session today that you've got questions that you want to ask. The content today, we got about 20 to 30 minutes of content talking about quotes and invoices, but it's meant to be interactive. I would love for you guys as we're going to ask questions through the process, especially because there is so much that I could talk about in these topics. I usually try to keep it a little bit higher level and let you prompt me when it's time for me to dive in deeper on a certain topic to make sure that I cover the things that are most important for you. Another way that we can interact in today's session, perhaps you don't have a microphone or you're a little bit shy, we also have the Q&A function. The Q&A function in Zoom lets you click on that and you can type in a question. And I actually have a thing on my screen down below that lets me see all those questions as they come in. Once I see those questions, I go ahead and usually I try to just answer them right in the moment. But if not, I'll answer them when it's appropriate, whether that's later on in the content where it might fit better, or I might save it for a Q&A session. Or section, I should say, of the webinar today. The other thing that might happen is you ask a question that maybe just isn't quite the best for a public forum, like, hey, could you look at my bill? I might take that question offline just because it's probably a better place for us to address that. But I promise you this, any questions that you ask, either by raising your hand or going into the Q&A and typing them in, they will be addressed by myself by the end of today. The other tool we have to help us communicate during this session to make it more interactive is our chat function in Zoom. The chat function is meant to be really just a very quick, kind of like a call and response. I might ask you a question about like what edition of Keep you're in, and you can then use the chat to type that in, and it scrolls by and it goes. It's not the best place to ask questions though. Because it scrolls by, I will lose your question pretty quickly. And I want to make sure I don't lose any. So use Q&A for questions, chat for just, casual chat. In fact, let's go ahead and use that chat function right now. I would love to know from you guys what edition of Keep you are in. Today's session works for both Keep Grow and Keep Pro customers, but I just want to know which edition you're in just to make sure that I know the makeup of the crowd today. All right, looks like everybody's in Pro. Awesome. Awesome. You guys are in a great tool there, so I'm glad you're here in Pro. Grow, if you were in Grow as well, you could also follow along and do everything we're doing today, except for we'll talk a little bit about Campaign Builder, and that's just not a function we have in Grow. But if you see it, you go, oh, I need to get that function in my app. You can reach out to me or your account manager, and they can get you upgraded. So let's talk a little bit about quotes and invoices. So just by way of history here, like I said earlier, I've been with Keep for about 5 years, but before that, I spent 8 years as a small business owner. I had my own window cleaning company. I had a little crew that I was running when I lived down in Southern California. It was a lot of fun. I really liked it, but it was also a lot of stress. I'm sure a lot of you entrepreneurs watching today can kind of commiserate with me there. It's a lot of stress. Things are hard sometimes for a small business owner. And there was a lot of things that I was learning the right way, and there was a lot of things I was learning the wrong way. Part of that led to me joining Keep because I wasn't that great at learning from some of my mistakes. Luckily, I spent my first year at Keep taking everything that I learned about what we do for small business and applying it to my small business. And I was running it remotely, and it was too much, and I actually had to sell it off. So it was kind of a great experience for me to learn a ton. And so I totally geek out on the opportunity for sessions like this to be able to share with you some of my learnings. Now, in today's session, we're going to go ahead and play pretend, I guess. I'm going to wear the hat of a small business owner again, and my business that I put together for our webinars is GMP Custom Flooring. It is basically a flooring company. We do residential flooring, we do business flooring or commercial flooring, and really our whole goal is to beautify the space you live in. I know some of us probably live more at work than we do at home in our waking hours. And so we want to make sure that wherever you're at is beautiful and you enjoy it. And so that's my business that I have, so that we can see this in real life. I find it works better for us to understand the concepts of business when it comes to Keep, rather than discussing them in the abstract. And so one of the things I'm struggling with right now, and I'm sure that you might be struggling with, and I actually struggled with in my window cleaning company, was that I would have clients that needed some time to make a decision. If I closed the deal right then, awesome. But sometimes I had customers like, you know what? Yeah, we've got to still do some other things first, or we're going through a refinance. We want to use those funds for this upgrade. And so I had to get them the information so that they knew how much my quote was. And I also needed to have it on file so I remembered. One of the things that would happen in my window cleaning company is I would verbally quote somebody, or I would write it on this nice little stationery I had created, hand it over, and then I'd leave and I would forget to call back. But they usually call me in 3 months, 4 months, or never ever again. But when they did call me, they'd say, "Hey, we're ready to go." I'd say, "Awesome, I'm so excited. Let's get you on the calendar." And then I'd remember I had no idea what I had quoted them. And it was really awkward for me to say, "Oh, can you tell me how much that quote was for again?" And they go, oh, we can see if we can find it. And then all of a sudden I now had to go and redo the work of quoting. And I had to kind of, hold my breath, because if I requoted them and things were off and they found my old quote and it was lower, boy, I'd have egg on my face. And so using Keep to be able to do quotes, to be able to make sure that I'm keeping track of everything as far as my own accountability of what I'm quoting, as well as I want to make sure that I am able to add reminders for myself and add a process to make sure that I know who to follow up with and who has outstanding quotes still. And the same thing when it comes to invoices. Once I perform the work, I want to make sure that I make it really easy and professional to ask my clients to pay me. So it's not just a verbal, or it's not just just Venmo me the money, but there's an actual accountable record that exists for the customer and for myself. I can keep track of those things, as well as make it really easy to pay that invoice. I used to use checks for everything. Like the customers would pay me via check. And that was hard because I had to send it in the mail. I had to go to my P.O. box every few days, make sure I'm checking the mail for those checks. And boy, I wanted that money to come in. I had to go to the bank, which I hated going to the bank. And so being able to make it really easy to get paid is something we're going to talk about today, because we want to remove as much friction as possible in our buying process. And getting paid is sometimes one of the most friction-filled processes in our small businesses. So let's jump into Keep and talk about this. So here is my Keep app for GMP custom flooring. If you've been joining us for our other sessions, you've seen we've been talking about a lot of other ways for us to communicate, and you can see some of that stuff represented in my dashboard. One of the things I have on here is a task. I went and did a proposal for Corbin, and now it's time for me to send him a quote based on what I learned, talking with Corbin, going on site for his home, and now I've got to get him a quote. So let me go ahead and just cancel this right here. I'm going to click on Corbin's name. And you can see right through here, if I click on more, I can click on add a payment, invoice, or quote. I'm going to go ahead and click on this button here, and I'm going to add a quote. Takes you to my quote screen, and automatically Keep will pull in the logo that I've set up in my business settings, as well as my address. It pulls up Corbin's information and today's date. And then down below, I can add the line items for the agreement that me and Corbin had talked about. So I know that right now Corbin has a new baby at home, and he's really nervous because his hardwood flooring is hard. And his little baby keeps kind of tumbling over and bonking her head. And so he has to basically redo some of the rooms in the home in carpet, make it a little bit softer, a little bit safer for that new baby in the home. Now, I don't have any products set up yet, so by default, Keep shows me this custom business coaching hour as an example of what a product could look like. So in this case here, I'm just going to go ahead and replace this. Give it a little description here. All right, perfect. I got my baby safe carpet there. And what I charge for this is I charge it by square foot. And I charge $5 per square foot. And Corbin, the areas that we're going to be covering for Corbin today, it's not everything, it's just about 500 square feet. I'm going to go ahead and add that now. And you can see now that his quote has been updated. We've got the price, the quantity, and the total amount. I also have the option to add some notes here and say, we have availability as soon as next week to install. And payment terms. I don't have any terms for my quotes. I'll get to terms when I get to my invoice. It's a little bit more important. So in this case here, I feel good about this. If I click on more actions, I have the option to preview my quote, convert it to invoice, or even copy a link to it. And I can even print it out. So if I wanted to maybe deliver this by hand. But in this case here, I want to deliver it to Corbin via email. So I'm going to click on next. And you can see it automatically throws up an email that's pre-written for us. Your quote's ready to view, Corbin. I'm so glad we've connected. Here's the quote we talked about. Please read it over. Let me know if you have any questions. Look forward to chatting soon. Perfect. That's exactly what I need to say to Corbin. But I do want to go ahead and add my signature at the bottom here. That way it just is a little more friendly and he knows it's coming from me. And I'll click on send. And off it goes. Now, for any reason I didn't like that wording, I can always edit it. But I find that it's simple, straightforward, and it really focuses on what I want Corbin to do, which is to click that button and view the quote. Once Corbin views that quote, he has the option to accept it. And then once it gets accepted, I get an email letting me know that his quote is ready. And if I've got the Keep mobile app, I'll actually get a notification on my phone letting me know that that quote has been accepted. So it makes it really easy for me to know that Corbin is ready for the next steps. So before we go too far to the next step, I want to give us a chance for you guys to ask a question if you need to, as far as any questions about creating a quote. Are there any things you guys saw there that you'd say, hey, I'd like to know more about that one section there that we talked about? Oh, perfect. Can I only create a quote from the contact record? Great question. No, you can't. You can go to other places as well. In fact, let's go there now. So if I go over here to money, you can see here one of our tabs here is quotes. And we've got our quote here that we've sent to Corbin that's sitting here pending. It's in sent. But if I go to add, I can always add a quote from the money tab as well. And then once I pull that up, I would just pull up the contact I want to send it to. I can scroll and locate them, or I can search for them and add them on here. Oh, great question here. Angela asked if I can do quotes from tasks. I can't do a quote from the task. It just prompts me to go and perform that quote like I did earlier. I saw the quote, it said, or the task, it said, go make a quote. So then I just went to Corbin's record and created that quote for him. In fact, now that you bring that up, boom, I'm gonna check that task off because I went ahead and sent that quote out to Corbin. All right, so now Corbin's got that sitting in his inbox right now, and he can accept it, and I could get notified of it. In this case here, let's say that Corbin actually just texted me or called me and said, hey, the quote looks great. Let's go ahead and move forward. I would send Corbin then a scheduling link to get scheduled. We perform the work, and then I'd go back to the quote that he had sent me. And I can click on more actions, and I can now convert this quote over to an invoice. And so everything that was on there before just copies right on over. And let's say actually while I was on site, he asked me to do another room and I had actually the carpet on hand. I could actually go here and I can edit this item and add the extra 100 square feet. that we did for this. And there we go. I can update that. I can do notes and I can say updated with 100 feet of additional carpet. So he doesn't think that there's a weird variance between the two quotes and then the invoice he's received. As well as I can add some terms here and call this net 30, make sure he's got some time to pay. Now, when it comes time to getting paid, I've got some options here. I could just send this invoice over and he could, send me a check in the mail, or I can go over there and pick up some cash. But I want to make it really easy, and I've got two options here to make it easier for me. I could, the first one, turn this on and accept credit cards and take online payments. We have inside of Keep what we call Keep Payments. It's powered by WePay, and it's a great credit card processing solution. It's managed in-house, so you can call our support team and they can help you if you ever have any questions. But it's really competitive. It's 2.9 cents plus 30 cents per transaction, which is kind of the industry average when it comes to pay-per-use credit card transactions. There's no monthly fee for it. You just pay for the amount of volume that you use. Now, because this is a fake account, I can't set up a real transaction or a real merchant account for this. But if I clicked on Take Online Payments, it would prompt me to put my email in there and it would send me my setup instructions. Oh, and probably just send it over to me. Now, once I turn this on, I could send this invoice out, and anything I get paid for via Keep Payments would just sit in WePay until I finish the setup. So you don't have to worry about doing the setup before you get paid, but it's good to do it first. But if you haven't done it, don't let it stop you from sending out invoices. The other option I have here is PayPal, which I love being able to accept payments from as well. Same thing, I would just put in my PayPal credentials. It would pop up and say, do you want to link these accounts? I link it up. It's pretty straightforward and simple. And same thing, PayPal's got the same rate for the transaction, but it also has some other benefits in addition to credit cards. So I'll give this to you guys in a list. The first great thing about having PayPal on hand, or as an option, is that sometimes we don't always have our credit cards on us. Maybe Corbin is up with baby late and he's feeding the baby on the couch and he's in his pajamas and he sees on his phone that my invoice came through and he wants to pay it, but his wallet's back in his bedroom. He could actually just log in with PayPal and pay me via PayPal. Super easy. He could also pay me via credit card if he wants to via PayPal. If that's the thing he chooses to do. The other cool thing is now that he's on his phone, if he's got Venmo on his phone, he can actually see on there a prompt in his payment options to pay via Venmo. And he can push that Venmo button and pay via Venmo to me. And it'll all get recorded through PayPal here and back to Keep. The other great benefit is if you're someone like me who's got more high ticket items like $3,000 here, maybe Corbin isn't ready to drop that on the carpeting. Maybe the home refinance that he did to pull that cash out, he had another project he was working on that came out a little bit higher than he expected. Like in this case here, our project itself was $500 more than he expected. And so one of the options he has is to use PayPal credit. Basically what happens is he establishes a creditor relationship with PayPal, and he makes payments to PayPal to pay off the balance of this transaction. But PayPal pays me in full. And there's no sort of finance charge that I've got to cover. They pay me the $3,000 up front, and they assume the risk to become Corbin's creditor. So I get everything up front, and Corbin gets flexibility in how he wants to pay. So it's really beneficial. And because we're giving our customers more options to pay, it makes it much easier for him to pay. So I can go ahead now and click on Next. Again, a simple, straightforward message. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Send. And now my quote has changed over to an invoice. And if I hop on over to Invoices, I can see all of my recent invoices here, all my paid invoices from my past demos we've been doing for this app. And here's Corbin's, my sent invoice. And this just lets me know that this is out here and outstanding. Now, one thing that I can do to make sure that I get paid is I can go ahead and make sure that I follow Corbin later. So I've got this sitting here in sent. And whenever I'm sitting here in my money tab, I can see I've got $8,500 in paid invoices, but I got $3,000 in outstanding. Also on my desktop, I can see when it comes to getting paid, I've got invoices in the last 30 days. I got $3,000 that hasn't been paid yet. And so if time goes on and I still see this 3,000, I know I should be following up. So now that we've created an invoice and sent it out, what questions do you guys have about the invoice part of getting paid? This one's cool. Okay. Awesome. This is actually leads right next to our next point. How can I tell, or how can I get reminded rather than looking at the dashboard? Okay, great. So our dashboard is here for us, but as time goes on, maybe that volume is a little bit larger and it's a little bit harder for us to manage just by going into our session here and looking at our 1 or 2 invoices. Maybe we've got 20 invoices that are sitting here. One of the things that you can do is you can use Campaign Builder to help you to remember to follow up on unpaid invoices. In fact, I've already got it created. I'm going to go ahead and go into it here. So I'll show you guys where I found this actually first. So in Explore Invoices in Keep Pro, you can see here that we've got all of these pre-made invoices, campaigns. These are simple, straightforward campaigns that make it really easy for you to scale and enhance your ability to follow up. I've already downloaded it in this campaign. So I'll click on Stay on Top of Unpaid Invoices. All right, perfect. And so the way that this one works is that it's got a goal here in the beginning, some follow-up in the middle, and a goal at the end. And this is basically where I determine what kicks off this invoice. We've got a session in these webinars all about Campaign Builder, so I don't want to go too deep into the functionality of Campaign Builder. I just want to show you what I would set up as I process. In this case here, I might set this up as a tag. So let me convert this back to a tag goal. And I would view and edit. And I would say, there we go, already got it made here. Invoice sent. So I would just make sure that whenever I send someone an invoice, I tag them as invoice sent. And then I've got this timer here that waits a day. And then I got an email that goes out that basically prompts them and says, hey, I sent you an email the other day. I want to make sure you had a chance to check it out. Go ahead and check out the email I sent you, or you can get a link to view the invoice. If they don't pay, I can wait 2 more days and I can create a task for myself to follow up. So it's assigned to the contact owner and I'm there as a backup. Mark that as ready. And perfect, we'll mark this all as ready. And now I've got my follow-up process, and this is waiting until somebody pays for something. So if they're in this process, as long as they pay me, they'll get pulled out. The only time they get the email and I get the task is if I applied that tag and they haven't paid their invoice yet. Once they pay their invoice, they get pulled out of here. So it makes it so there's a little bit more automation when it comes to my reminders. And all I need to do, let me go ahead actually, I backed out too soon. Let me go back and I want to publish this and make it live. So it does a ready check, make sure everything looks good. I got all green check marks. All right, we are live. So now I'll go back to money so I can see my outstanding invoices here. Perfect, Corbin. So let me go ahead and, oops, wrong button. Go to Corbin's contact record. And all I have to do now is just add a tag. There it is right there. Invoice sent. Apply tag. Perfect. So now that tag's there, I will automatically get reminded in a few days if Corbin hasn't paid his invoice yet. And if he has paid his invoice, perfect, he gets removed from the process. So let's say Corbin did pay his invoice. For Corbin, he actually just sent me a check in the mail. I went to my PO box. I received it, and now I need to go ahead and mark that invoice as paid. Now, like I said earlier, if he paid via other methods online, I would just get a notification that he was paid. But in this case, because it's a check and Keep can't read my my physical mail, I've got to go over to Money, find Corbin's invoice again, and go to Actions, and I'm going to go ahead and add my payment here. And he paid via check. So I'll go ahead and add that check payment on there. And perfect. Now his invoice is updated to paid. Oh, there's my Apple Watch tells me I got paid. I love that feeling. And we're all good here. If I want to now, I can go ahead and edit this email and say, thanks for paying. Here's a copy of your paid invoice. But in this case here, our session on Campaign Builder talks about what we might do next with this situation with Corbin. But you can see now I've got everything paid. All my invoices are showing as paid. That feels really good for a business owner. But now I've followed up and got my invoices paid. So what questions do you guys have about our quotes and our invoices functionality in Keep? I'm not seeing anything come in yet. So what I like to do is also open it up to just general questions. So if you just got questions about anything Keep related, or just anything just small business marketing related, I'm glad to take some time and help you guys out with that stuff and answer those questions. There you go. You teased at being able to follow up after a paid invoice. What do you mean? Oh, okay, fine, I'll tell you. So our session on Campaign Builder is all about what we do next after somebody pays an invoice. So we've paid an invoice, and a lot of times that's where we cut off our relationship because we got paid. That's what we want. But there's other things we can benefit from our customers. And so the session on Campaign Builder is designed around saying, once somebody pays you, how do I first make sure and verify that my team did a great job servicing that customer? And two, how do I get better reviews on social media with my past clients? And what we're going to do is we're going to build from scratch a campaign that allows us to find out who's happy and also send those happy people online to leave us a review. So that will be available later on today. And so I would recommend for you guys who are joining us today is join that session. It's kind of the culmination of all of our webinar training. We've been doing all these other things leading up to this point to be able to enhance everything we've been working on inside of Keep. So I'd encourage you to join us or any of the other sessions that we have. We host these webinars every day on different topics, and we want to make sure that we help you get up and running and keep adopting the software and making it part of your daily process and running your business. In a little bit here, you guys are going to get an email from me that asks for your feedback on today's session. I would love to know what worked for you and what opportunities we have, especially because it really helps us to know how to make these better. I want to make sure I keep doing or do more of what works. And if I need to, remove what doesn't work for you guys. Also, it really helps us to add some of those verbatims to our messaging when we tell other people about the value that others are finding in these webinars. Lastly, what you'll get from me later on today after it processes is a copy of this webinar that you can review on your own time. If you were watching today and you are building as we go, awesome. But if you're watching on your screen and you're going to build later, you can get that email from me that gives you a link to watch the replay, and you can watch the replay and build along with me then. And so that hopefully will help you to be able to reuse this content and continue to come back to it as you are working through adopting quotes and invoices into your business process. So I haven't seen any other questions come in. So I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for taking time out of your business, working in your business to work on your business and helping you to streamline and enhance the way that you do business to get more out of it, be able to buy you more time, be able to make you more effective and more efficient with the time that you invest in your business. So you can either reinvest that time to do more business or reinvest that time into do the things that you love. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you again soon.